You need to leave, Mom. 5 words. That's all it took to shatter 43 years of sacrifice, love, and devotion into a million pieces. I stood there in my own kitchen, the kitchen where I'd made thousands of meals, packed countless school lunches, celebrated every birthday, and stared at my son David, my only child. The boy I'd raised alone after his father walked out when he was just 3 years old. But he wasn't looking at me. His eyes were fixed on the floor, and beside him stood Jessica, his wife of 2 years, with her arms crossed and that smile. That cold, satisfied smile I'd seen too many times before. Before I tell you what happened next, don't forget to subscribe if you love true stories like this, and tell me in the comments, what would you have done if this happened to you? Because what I'm about to share, it changed everything. David, I whispered, my voice barely audible. What are you saying? Jessica answered before he could. Her voice was sharp, cutting through the air like ice. What he's saying, Barbara, is that you're old. You're slowing us down. We need space to build our life, and frankly, you're in the way. Let me take you back. Let me tell you how we got here. Because this story didn't start with those 5 words. It started 40 years ago, when I was a young mother of 25, holding a 3-year-old boy's hand as his father drove away with another woman. I remember standing in the driveway of our tiny apartment, watching the taillights disappear. David was crying, asking when Daddy would come home. I told him soon, even though I knew the truth. He wasn't coming back. The next morning I woke up and made a promise. I promised that little boy everything. Education, opportunity, love, security. I promised him the world, even if I had to build it with my bare hands. And that's exactly what I did. I worked 2 jobs for 15 years. During the day, I was a secretary at a law firm. At night, I cleaned offices downtown. I slept 4, maybe 5 hours a night. My hands were always raw from scrubbing floors, my feet always aching from standing all day. But I never complained. Not once. I saved every penny I could. I skipped meals so David could have seconds. I wore the same 3 outfits for years so he could have new school clothes. When he wanted to join Little League, I took on weekend shifts. When he dreamed of going to college, I worked through holidays. Do you know what it's like to watch your child open a college acceptance letter? To see their face light up with possibility, knowing that you made that happen. That every sacrifice, every sleepless night, every moment of exhaustion was worth it. That was my reward. His success was my success. David graduated with honors. He got a good job at a marketing firm. He bought his first car. He was building the life I'd always dreamed he'd have. And then he met Jessica. I should have seen it coming. The signs were there, like storm clouds gathering on a clear day. Jessica came into David's life 3 years ago. She was beautiful, confident, and ambitious. Everything you'd want for your son, right? At first, I was happy for him. He seemed so in love, so excited about their future together. But there were moments, little things that made me uncomfortable. Like the first time she came to dinner at my house. I'd spent all day cooking David's favorite meal. Pot roast with roasted vegetables, homemade biscuits, apple pie for dessert. I'd set the table with my good dishes, the ones I'd been saving for special occasions. Jessica walked in, looked around my modest living room, and I caught her whisper to David, "This is where you grew up." The way she said it. Like she was shocked he'd survived in such a place. I pretended not to hear. I smiled and welcomed her warmly, because that's what mothers do. We swallow our hurt for the sake of our children's happiness. During dinner, she barely touched the food. She kept checking her phone, making comments about how home cooking wasn't really her thing, how they usually ate at nicer places. David apologized for her later. "She's just not used to this, Mom. She grew up differently." I told him it was fine. But inside something shifted. They got engaged 6 months later. Jessica wanted a big wedding, the kind you see in magazines. David was hesitant about the cost, but she insisted. It's our special day, David. Don't you want it to be perfect? I offered to help pay. I had some savings set aside, money I'd been putting away for emergencies. It wasn't much, but it was something. Jessica smiled when David told her about my offer. But it wasn't a grateful smile. It was the kind of smile you give a child who offers you their toy. Patronizing, dismissive. That's sweet, Barbara, she said. But we need real money. Don't worry about it. Real money. Like my $23,000, 23 years of sacrifice, wasn't real. The wedding was beautiful, I'll admit. 200 guests, a country club venue, an open bar. I wore my nicest dress and smiled for photos, even though I felt out of place among Jessica's wealthy family and friends. During the reception, I overheard Jessica's mother talking to someone at the bar. I can't believe David's background, she said, laughing. Jessica really traded up from his situation. That mother of his looks exhausted. I suppose raising a child alone will do that to you. I spent the rest of the evening in the bathroom, crying silently so no one would see. A year after the wedding, David called me with news. Mom, Jessica and I have been talking. We want you to move in with us. I was surprised. They just bought a beautiful 3-bedroom house in a nice neighborhood. I was still in my small apartment, the same one David grew up in. Are you sure? Yes. I don't want to impose. Of course I'm sure, David said, and for a moment, he sounded like my little boy again. You've spent your whole life taking care of me. Let me take care of you now. I should have questioned it. I should have asked whose idea it really was. But I was lonely and tired, and the thought of being close to my son again. It made me say yes. I moved in 3 weeks later. They'd prepared the smallest bedroom for me, the one that was supposed to be a home office. It was fine. I didn't need much space. First, everything seemed okay. I helped around the house, cooked meals, did laundry. I thought I was being helpful, contributing to the household. But Jessica's attitude changed quickly. Barbara, can you not use so much hot water? The utility bills are getting expensive. Barbara, we need the living room tonight. Maybe you could stay in your room. Barbara, David and I need our privacy. Could you make yourself scarce this weekend? Every request chipped away at my sense of belonging. I started feeling like a guest in their home. No, worse than a guest. Guests are treated with respect. Felt like a burden. Jessica was smart. She never confronted me directly in front of David. Her cruelty was subtle, designed to make me look like the problem. She'd forget to tell me about dinner plans, then act surprised when I made myself a meal. Oh, Barbara, we were going to take you out. Why did you eat already? She'd rearrange things I'd organized, then ask David, does your mother always go through our things? She complained that I woke them up too early in the morning, even though I was trying to be quiet. She said my TV was too loud even when I used headphones. But the worst part, she started poisoning David against me. I'd overhear their conversations late at night. Your mother is so old-fashioned, David. She doesn't understand our lifestyle. She's always hovering. It's like she doesn't trust us to run our own home. I love your mother, I really do. But don't you think it's time she found her own place? For her own dignity. And slowly, painfully, I watched my son change. He started avoiding eye contact with me. He'd come home late from work, going straight to his bedroom. Our conversations became shorter, colder. The boy who used to hug me every morning, who used to call me his superhero, was slipping away. And Jessica's satisfied smile grew wider every day. It happened on a Tuesday evening. I remember because Tuesdays were the day I used to make meatloaf, David's childhood favorite. I'd spent the afternoon preparing dinner, like I used to when he was young. I set the table, lit a candle, hoping maybe we could have a family meal together, like we hadn't had in months. When David and Jessica came home, Jessica took one look at the table and said, "We already ate, Barbara. We grabbed dinner with friends." She hadn't texted me, hadn't called. She wanted me to waste my time, my effort, just to remind me that I didn't matter. Something inside me broke. "Jessica," I said quietly, "if I'm doing something wrong, please tell me. I'm trying my best to respect your space and help where I can. But I feel like I'm not welcome in this house anymore." She stared at me for a long moment. Then she turned to David. "David, I think we need to talk. All three of us." We sat down in the living room. My heart was pounding. David still wouldn't look at me. Jessica spoke first. "Barbara, we appreciate everything you've done. We really do. But the truth is, this living situation isn't working. You're old. You're set in your ways. David and I are trying to build our future, and frankly, having you here is holding us back." I felt like I'd been slapped. I'm holding you back." "Yes," she said simply. "We need space. We need privacy. We need to focus on starting our own family. And we can't do that with you hovering around every day." Turned to David, desperate. "David," I whispered, "is this how you feel?" He finally looked at me. My son. My baby boy. The child I'd sacrificed everything for. And he said, "Mom, maybe it's time. Maybe it would be better for everyone if you found your own place." I didn't cry. Not in front of them. I stood up, nodded slowly, and walked to my room. I packed my belongings into the same 2 suitcases I'd brought with me. Everything I owned in the world fit into 2 bags. 43 years of motherhood. 2 suitcases. I called my old landlord. My apartment was still available, hadn't been rented yet. He remembered me, remembered I'd always paid on time. He said I could move back in immediately. The next morning I called a taxi. David was already at work. Jessica watched from the doorway as I loaded my suitcases into the trunk. "It's for the best, Barbara," she said. "You'll be happier on your own." I looked at her then. Really looked at her. And I said something I should have said months ago. "You know what, Jessica? You're right. I will be happier. 'Cause I raised a boy who knew how to love. But you've turned him into a man who knows how to abandon. And one day, you'll realize that loyalty isn't weakness. It's the only thing that matters when everything else falls apart." She just laughed and closed the door. The first week back in my apartment was the hardest. I cried myself to sleep every night. I'd wake up and forget where I was, reaching for routines that no longer existed. But on the 8th day something changed. I woke up angry. Not sad. Not heartbroken. Angry. How dare they make me feel worthless? How dare my own son treat me like I was disposable? I'd spent 40 years being strong for everyone else. Now it was time to be strong for myself. I still had my savings. What little was left. I still had my skills. I was 71 years old, but I wasn't dead. I applied for a part-time position at a local library. They hired me within a week. The pay wasn't much, but it was mine. My independence. My dignity. I started taking walks every morning. I joined a book club at the community center. I made friends, real friends who valued me for who I was, not what I could do for them. And slowly, day by day, I rebuilt my life. I stopped waiting for David to call. I stopped checking my phone every 5 minutes, hoping for an apology that never came. I let him go. Not because I stopped loving him, but because I finally started loving myself. 6 months passed. I heard nothing from David or Jessica. Then, one rainy October evening, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. But something told me to pick up. "Mom." David's voice. But different. Broken. Desperate. "David," I said calmly. "What do you want?" "Mom, I need to see you. Please. Can I come over?" Part of me wanted to say no. To hang up and let him feel the abandonment he'd given me. But I'm still a mother. And mothers never stop hurting for their children, even when their children have hurt them. You can come, I said. He arrived 20 minutes later. He looked terrible, unshaved, dark circles under his eyes, suit wrinkled like he'd been wearing it for days. He stood in my doorway, unable to speak, just staring at me with tears streaming down his face. Come in, I said softly. We sat at my small kitchen table, the same table we'd eaten at when he was a child. I made him tea because that's what I always did when he was upset. Finally he spoke. She left me, Mom. Jessica. She'd been having an affair. For months. With my boss. They're moving to California together. She filed for divorce last week. She took everything. The house. It's in her name because her parents helped with the down payment. The savings account. Even my car. She said I deserved it. For being weak. For being too attached to my mother. She said I was pathetic. That I'd always be nothing because I came from nothing. She said she married me thinking she could mold me into someone better, but I was just like my mother. Weak. Worthless. I let him cry. I let him pour out all the pain, all the betrayal, all the karma that had finally caught up to him. And when he was done, I did something he probably didn't expect. I forgave him. David, I said, taking his hands in mine. What Jessica did to you was cruel. What you did to me was cruel too. But here's what I've learned in these 6 months. You can't build a life on the foundation of abandoning the people who loved you first. You can't find happiness by throwing away loyalty. And you can't create a future by burning your past. I am old. I am 71 years old. My hands are wrinkled, my hair is gray, and my body is tired. But old doesn't mean weak. Old doesn't mean worthless. Old means I survived. Old means I endured. Old means when everyone else gave up, I stood strong. I stood strong when your father left. I stood strong through every rejection, every closed door, every person who looked down on me because I was a single mother. I stood strong so you could have a chance. And when you threw me away, I stood strong again. Alone. Without you. So yes, I'm old. But I'm standing. And where is Jessica now? Where are all those people who called us weak? They're gone. Because strength isn't about money or status or beauty. It's about who's still there when everything falls apart. David moved back in with me that night. Not because I needed him to, but because he needed to remember where he came from. He needed to learn what it means to rebuild from nothing. It wasn't easy. We had a lot to work through. Trust isn't rebuilt overnight. But slowly, painfully, we started to heal. He got a new job. A modest one but honest work. He apologized, really apologized, not just for asking me to leave, but for letting someone else define my worth. And I forgave him. Not because he deserved it, but because forgiveness was the only way forward. Today, 3 years later, David lives in his own apartment. He visits me every Sunday. We cook together, we talk, we laugh. He's dating someone new. A kind woman who treats me with respect. But more importantly, he's learned. He's learned that strength isn't about power. It's about presence. He's learned that family isn't about who's convenient. It's about who stays. He's learned that old doesn't mean weak. It means tested, proven, unbreakable. And me. I'm 74 now. My hair is grayer, my steps are slower. But I wake up every morning knowing something Jessica will never understand. I'm still standing. Not because I had money. Not because I had status. But because I had something she couldn't take away. I had myself. If this story moved you, like and subscribe for more stories about truth, betrayal, and redemption. And remember, being old isn't a weakness. It's a testimony that you survived every battle that tried to break you. And that's the strongest thing you can be.